It has been about, I want to say, 5 minutes since I just finished watching the last episode of The Acolyte. And originally I wasn't going to make a video on it because I really didn't want to make anything negative. I've done that twice now. The first time being my Star Trek Discovery video, and the second time being my Lower Decks Episode 1 review. And I've rewatched them since, and both times I haven't really liked what I did with them because, to put it simply, I didn't like how cocky I was in my Discovery video. I felt like I was being a bit disingenuous. And in my Lower Decks video, I just come across as really depressed, really unenthusiastic, and just overall very untrue to what I actually think of Lower Decks now. Because I ended up really, really loving Lower Decks, and if I'd actually just given it the time of day, I could have made like a very different video. Sorry if I sound a bit unsure of what I'm saying. This is the first time I'm doing an unscripted review in quite a while because I just didn't think it was worth putting the effort into this video. Because let's be honest, I should be putting in the same amount of effort that the script writers did with The Acolyte. I think that's fair. But yeah, I just wanted to preface this by saying that this isn't a rage bait video, and I'm not about to start screaming about some kind of agenda or the wokeness of it or whatever, because I think that's all very stupid. It's not what I stand for, and it's not what I want to talk about. If anything, this is just me ranting and venting about problems that I've had with Star Wars for a while now, and just the wider storytelling aspect of it, and the wider scripts, and the people that are in charge of it not really understanding what Star Wars is. This isn't an attack on Leslie Headland or any of the other creators of The Acolyte. It's not an attack on anyone that likes The Acolyte. If you like The Acolyte, more power to you. I'm just happy that people can still get into Star Wars. But I have a lot of problems and I needed to talk about it. I don't know how long this video is going to be. Hopefully, not too long, but it could end up being another half an hour long epic like my Gundam video, or it could be 10 minutes. Who knows? We're just going to go for it and see what happens. But to begin, I love Star Wars. I have done all my life, but the last few years have been tough. I'm not going to lie. Um, Especially like the Disney era. Well, that is the last few years, the Disney era, but like from the Disney era is where I can see a lot of these problems beginning. And I will get into the actual show and my thoughts of it, but I just want to set the stage a little bit before I do that. This, like I said, this is all unscripted, so I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. But I can remember when The Force Awakens came out and being very excited, like more excited for anything than I'd ever been in my entire life up to that point. And I can remember going to see it opening night, and I can remember loving it. And I remember being so hopeful for the direction that Star Wars was going. And I still love it. I can watch Force Awakens all the time. I'm one of those people that doesn't really care that it's similar to a New Hope, especially at the time it came out, because at the time it felt like the possibilities going forward were very different to what the possibilities for going forward after New Hope were. It felt like we were going to go into this expansive new era of canon, and obviously that didn't happen. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I hate The Last Jedi, but this isn't a Last Jedi video, and if I go into that, I will get really angry. It's one of the few films that make me angry, if not the only film, so I'm just going to move past that. And then again with Rise of Skywalker, um, I don't hate it, but I think it's a bit of a mess. And I can have fun with that film, but it's not a good film by any means, even if it has some really good moments, in my opinion. But that was really the end of me caring about the future of the story going forward. So, like when we look at shows like Ahsoka, I find it very difficult to care about what's happening because I know where it goes. I know what it does to our favourite characters. I know what happens to Luke. I know what happens to Leia. I know what happens to Han. I know what happens to the galaxy, and it's a story that I hate and don't care about. So that's where I stand in terms of the current history of Star Wars, in terms of where we are in the timeline up to date. So already I've fallen off in that regard. But even then, I loved Mandalorian season 1 and 2. I loved season 1 a lot more than 2, but I still loved season 2. I thought season 3, again, it was a mess. I really didn't like it, and coming back to Ahsoka, I really didn't like it. I didn't like how it treated its characters. I didn't like really how it was written. I just didn't like it. I don't know if I could even have the energy to really pick it apart right now, but I didn't like it. Andor, on the other hand, I think is a masterpiece. So it's not like there's nothing new with Star Wars that I don't like. I can't wait for Andor season 2, so I'm not completely off the train yet. That is still keeping the hope alive. And obviously the Jedi games, Fallen Order and Survivor, I think they're fantastic. I love both of them, so I have the third one of them to look forward to. And I haven't seen Bad Batch yet, but I really want to watch that because I really like Rebels. And I also really liked the last season of Clone Wars. So Disney has done good. My argument here is not to say that Disney can't make good Star Wars, because they have. You know, I think Rebels is probably my favourite thing they've done. I haven't even talked about Solo and Rogue One, or what was the other one? Obi-Wan. I think Solo's boring. I think Obi-Wan's, again, messy, but I really liked seeing Hayden in it, and I liked the Vader duel at the end. And then Rogue One I think is great. I can't wait for that to tie to Andor, but now that I've got my thoughts on just Star Wars in general out the way, let's get into the Acolyte, shall we? Because I just, like I said, I didn't want to make a video on it. I was watching, I got about halfway through, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to finish it, but I decided that I was too deep in to the story that I may as well just see how it ends. And then as it got closer to the end, I just hated it more and more. And see, I'm struggling to even like put it into words because I'm just so dumbfounded by how much I don't like it. But I just started hating it more and more that I got to the end of it, and like I said, I've finished it just recently. Like the last episode is just finished. I'm recording this now, and I just knew like I had to talk about it because it just does so much wrong. And like the title of the video says, to me, it's everything wrong with the current state of Star Wars. It doesn't understand Star Wars. It's people writing a Star Wars show that clearly either have a very surface level understanding of the canon, or they just don't even like it. You know, I can't see why this show exists. I want to know who the target audience is, because I don't know who it's made for. It's certainly not made for people that like the canon, that really love the lore. It's certainly not made for fans of the prequels, and it's definitely not made for fans of the original trilogy. And like I said, if you like it, I don't care. Like, more power to you. And if you do like it, please tell me why. I want to know what you love about it, because I don't see it. My biggest problem with the show, above all else, is how it treats the Jedi. I think it really ruins the idea of the Jedi. And it uses the excuse of, oh, well, they're blinded by their dogmatic view. They're too arrogant. They're too blah, blah, blah. But when you look at The Phantom Menace and the other two prequel films, that's not how it is in the slightest. The Jedi aren't arrogant. They're just blind to the true nature of the dark side. You know, like Obi-Wan was the first person to kill a Sith in 1,000 years, right? Technically. Because Maul comes back. But they didn't know about the true nature of the dark side. They didn't know all of that stuff. And the Jedi weren't arrogant. They were just kind of blindsided, you know? But they always tried to do the same thing. They always tried to do the right thing. And they were always the good guys. They were still the light side, and they were always respectable. Some of my favourite characters are Jedi from the prequel era. Like Obi-Wan is probably my favorite Jedi. You know, I love Qui-Gon, I love Mace Windu, I love Yoda, I love all of them. You know, Anakin, and it fundamentally misunderstands that viewpoint, and it's like they listen to Palpatine speak in Revenge of the Sith about the Jedi, and go, "Oh, well, that's fact," you know. And in the last episode, Osha turns to the dark side in zero point 0.1 nanoseconds and murders Soul in cold blood, and then it's treated like she's the good guy. Like, she says that she's going to go train with Khmer, and then it's got this flowery music in the background, and it's treated like it's the right thing to do, as if she didn't just murder someone in cold blood, as if her sister hasn't been murdering Jedi, as if she's not joining the dark side. And Khmer's treated as this neutral character that also just goes behind her back at every turn. When they land on, I can't even remember the name of the planet where the magical space witches that turned into fart clouds lived. Um, um, but they go back there, they land the ship, and Khmer just vanishes and just dresses up as the Sith Lord and just tries to kill Soul. And then May just doesn't have, no, not May, Osha just doesn't have any trust issues with that, you know what I mean? And that's another thing. I hate how everyone seems to have, like, forced teleport in this. They'll be stood, like, right next to each other, and then they'll look away for a nanosecond, and then the other person will just be gone. It's like, how? Like, what? Where'd you go? How did you do that? Did you just vanish into thin air? Is there, like, some new force ability we don't know about? Where you can just phase out of existence? Because... Right, but another problem I have as well, coming back to this, with May turning to the dark side, is just how often the characters just change their viewpoints. Like, you can't root for a character because you don't know what that character stands for, and they just seem to become something completely different every episode. May will, no, not May, well, May and Osha actually, will start as two completely different viewpoints, and then an episode later they've switched. So Osha will start being the good guy. Oh yeah, I used to be a Jedi, and then I stopped being a Jedi, and May's murdering people, and I can't support that. And then an episode later, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna go work with this Sith Lord, and just be his mate, even though he just murdered all my friends right in front of me that I grew up with in the academy. And then May is like, just out of nowhere, I don't want to kill Jedi anymore. I'm a good person. You can't root for it, you know? It's just a mess. The character writing is a mess. And as someone that loves characters, and as someone that does a lot of character writing myself, I hate it. It angers me. And I also hate that there's 2 episodes in here that are just nothing but flashback. And one of those flashbacks is the same episode again. Yeah, it's a different viewpoint, but we learn nothing new that couldn't have been added to that other flashback episode, or could have just been done there. So you lose out on this entire episode that could have helped further explain this story, because by the end of it, nothing's explained. And it's just stupid. Like, it feels rushed. The pacing is awful. The writing is diabolical as well. And I think it's the first episode. It ends with May on the beach where she's walking towards Khmer, and you get this like long drawn out speech, and it feels like it was written for like a Wattpad fan fiction or something. And it's like, the Jedi live in a dream, and then the dream is long, and the Jedi use weapons but can't be killed by weapons because you need to use a weapon, but don't, but just don't use a weapon, and then kill the Jedi, and then whatever, you know what I mean? And it's just like, the Acolyte kills the dream without a weapon, and then every single time May kills someone, she uses a weapon. Every time. She doesn't even try to do it without a weapon. She uses like the darts. And then obviously when it ends, and Osha kills Soul in cold blood. She strangles him without a weapon. And that's why she's the apprentice. Ooh, because suddenly out of nowhere she wants to be a Sith just because she learned that Soul killed her mother without even wanting to find out anything else. Like, she doesn't even think about the fact that May could be lying about the exact events or anything. She just instantly turns to the dark side, instantly murders him in cold blood, and then that's it. And now she's a Sith, and that's apparently the right thing to do. Because this show hates the Jedi for some reason. This show wants to vilify the Jedi. And again, just like in my opinion, The Last Jedi really, really ruins the Return of the Jedi, the Acolyte, in my opinion, ruins the Phantom Menace in the fact that it vilifies the Jedi so much. It doesn't let the Jedi be guardians of peace and justice. It lets them be a bunch of liars who are willing to alter the truth and lie to the council, and they're all scheming, backstabbing idiots. You know, like, they blame everything on Soul, and that's it. Because the Jedi have no honor in this, and it's like they're constantly trying to ruin the importance of the Jedi, and I don't know why. Maybe when they do this Rey movie that I'm probably not going to watch, they're going to make it so that Rey makes the Jedi all amazing and cool again and fully good again, but I don't want that, and I've always thought that if we're going to do that, it should have been Luke. We're just doing what Luke's story was in Legends, but with Rey again, if that's the route they're going to go. But I hate this. I hate this deconstruction of the Jedi. I really do, and I'm sick of it. And I hate that Khmer is just not even a believable Sith. He just acts like a normal dude, and you could argue that he's lying, but at the same time he's like so backwards. Like, he never seems to act the same. He never seems to have like a clear motive or a clear goal or a clear character. And we don't even know who he is. We don't know why we're supposed to be afraid of him. We don't even know his Sith name. So unless it's Darth Khmer, what is it? You know, like, we don't know anything. All we know is that he said, "You might call me Sif," and it's like, why, whatever. Like, I don't care. I hope this doesn't get a season 2. And there's probably so much more I can say. Like I said, the flashback episodes were terrible, and I genuinely hated the witches. I'm also just bored of witches. We're doing Night Sisters all the time recently, it feels like, and we're just doing witches again here. That's such a nitpick, and I'm going to admit to that. It's a nitpick. But that whole the power of one, the power of two, the power of many chant thing they do is just it's just awful. I hated it. I was cringing so hard at it. I also hate how they all die because the Wookiee mind control stops and they all just die because they're so good at it that they need 50 people to mind control a Wookiee and they all die the second they fail it, and that's it. And then obviously they blame Soul for killing their mother, and then it's like she turned into a giant fart monster right next to him. Like, what did you expect? You know, Soul was gonna defend himself, but Soul never gets the chance to say that because Osha just turns to the dark side in half a nanosecond and kills him. And yeah, it's just bad. It is just bad, and I don't know what else to say. Really, I feel like I'm just gonna start going round in circles in a minute. I just think, to sum it up, the characters are messy. They can't commit to a character arc. I thought the action was pretty flat a lot of the time. They claimed that the lightsaber fights were going to be better than Duel of the Fates. I don't even think they're better than the sequel trilogy's lightsaber fights. And I like the sequel trilogy's lightsaber fights. Don't get me wrong. That's not a jab at the sequel trilogy, because I think some of their lightsaber fights are really good. But my point was they're trying to say it's better than the prequels, which are known for having these crazy lightsaber fights, but they're not even better than the other trilogies, you know? And what else can I say? I don't think there's anything else to say. I think I've just rambled on about junk long enough. I don't even know what to say about this show anymore. It's just so bad that I can't even really comprehend it. I've forgotten so much of it over these last few weeks, but I just had to ramble. I just had to say something, and I doubt this video is going to be very well put together. I doubt I'm going to edit it very well because, like I said, I'm putting the same level of effort into this video that they did writing this show. And when I say that this is everything wrong with Star Wars, I mean that Star Wars is in such a poor direction at the minute that I don't see it getting better if this is the stuff they want to give us. Because what else is there to come of this? Are we going to get a season 2? I don't want a season 2. Are the creatives behind this show going to go on to make something different? Because I don't want them to. Um, what else is there? Another season of Ahsoka? I didn't like Ahsoka. I hated what it did to Thrawn, and I don't care about where that story goes because it leads to the sequels. Are we going to get more Mandalorian after that travesty that was season 3, where it's just more weird, wacky, episodic adventures? I don't want that either. What I want is more like Andor. I want more perspective in the same way that they tried to do a Sith point of view here, but failed. Like I've always said, I'd love a Stormtrooper show or just an Imperial show, because the only way we can get that at the minute is through the books. But really, like, I can't see a solid way forward for Star Wars at the minute unless there's a very real change at the top. Because I think the people in charge of it at the minute just really don't get it. And I know a lot of people really love Dave Filoni. I don't. I think he's a bit of a hack, personally. I know I said I wasn't going to attack the writers. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, and I love a lot of what he's done on Rebels and Clone Wars, but I think Ahsoka proved to me that he can't really write a Star Wars show. I'm trying not to get angry because I'm very passionate about this franchise, so I think I'm going to try and wrap it up. But yeah, my point is, I don't see any way forward for this brand anymore unless there's a very, very real change. I don't see any way to be excited about new properties, especially series or films going forward post Ahsoka, because do we really have a reason to care about those characters? I don't think the sequel trilogy gave us enough of a reason. I want the Legends timeline back, and that's mad for me to say because I really didn't like Legends. And the irony is that I was a massive supporter of the new canon when it started. I thought the new canon books were better. I thought The Force Awakens was amazing. I was really excited about the First Order, and I even loved all of the other books they did during the Galactic Civil War and the changes they made to things. And I preferred Thrawn's take in Rebels, for example. But I'm seriously just thinking my only way to enjoy this story anymore is to go back to Legends and view something like Heir to the Empire and that trilogy as the true sequel trilogy, because I've always been a massive lore buff. I've always loved reading into the canon, and I've always loved supporting the canon and wanting to see the canon do better. And I want to see this franchise do better, but at the end of the day, I can't. I'm out of gas. I just can't support what they're doing anymore. And like I said, Andor is all there is, and I can't see them doing anything else like it. So that's where I'm at. That's my rant over. This has ended up being about 25 to 30 minutes, which is what I didn't want to happen. But sorry guys, just jumping in from the future real quick to say that I completely forgot to talk about Anakin. And I had this video completely recorded, completely done. I was ready to go and just be done talking about the Acolyte. But how could I not mention Anakin? I've already talked about how I hated what they did with the Jedi and I hate the stance on the Jedi, but I just want to quickly come in and add that I hate this whole Virgins thing, man. It is awful. Like, the whole point is that Anakin is this chosen one, born of the Force. And the driving idea for 6 films, you know, him turning back to the light side and defeating Palpatine and fulfilling the prophecy. And here, we've just got these 2 twins, the exact same genetic code, that are, I think they described them, I might be wrong because I can't remember properly, as more powerful than Anakin. And you're telling me that the Jedi just lied about this birth from the Force. They just never told the Council that. So Anakin was the only one they knew about that was born of the Force. So Anakin isn't special. And this is again what I was saying about the attack on the Phantom Menace and how it ruins the Jedi and that. It's like you're telling me that Anakin is just no longer special and the Chosen One prophecy is bogus, and we're just doing away with that. Because that annoys me, and I said I wasn't going to get angry, but as I'm talking about it, I'm getting kind of angry. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I just wanted to make sure that I had that in this video, because, yeah, I had to at least mention Anakin and how much I hated that they play that down and that they ruin that and that they take away from it. Also, Ki-Adi-Mundi just being a lying asshole. I guess he's not, actually, because he, isn't in the rest of it. They just planted him there for no reason. I guess to try and be like, oh, well, here's a reason why he says what he says in The Phantom Menace. But they do nothing with it. Again, because this show doesn't know what to do with its characters and doesn't have a direction. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to point that out. I hate it. But anyway, I'm done for real this time. The video's over for real this time. It's now somehow even longer than it was, and I'm sorry that there's so many audio spikes. I just didn't even bother to set up the recording when I started doing this properly. But if you did enjoy listening to me rant and ramble for half an hour again, feel free to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you never miss a video. And as always, I will see you on the next one. I have got a video coming, and I'm very excited for the next video that I'm planning to do. I've got to find the time to edit it though. So who knows when it will come out. I've been working on it for like a month, and when I say working on it, I mean I've recorded the audio and made a template for the video. That's about it. But it's coming, and I'm excited to share it. So stick around. I'll see you on the next one, and thanks for watching.